Hello everyone and welcome to our first session on ReactJS Event Management. Introduction to Event Management. Handling events in React is very similar to handling events in plain JavaScript, but with some syntactic differences that leverage the power of JSX and React state management capabilities. Understanding events in JavaScript. Events are actions or occurrences that happen in the browser, such as clicks, mouse movements, or keyboard inputs. JavaScript provides a way to handle these events to create interactive web pages. Let's review some key points about JavaScript events. There are various event types like mouse events, keyboard events, form events, and window events. Event handlers are functions that are called when an event occurs. Event listeners are methods like add event listener to attach event handlers to DOM elements. Event objects contains properties and methods related to the event. Some of the simple examples of events are button click, mouse click, keyboard input, form submission, page load, window resize. Handling events in JavaScript. Each event in JavaScript has something that is constantly looking for that event to occur, which is called event listener. The event listener triggers a function execution whenever the event occurs. These functions can be regular function, arrow function, or anonymous function. Generally, event listener and event handler are used interchangeably. Here is how an event is handled in JavaScript step by step. The event is triggered by the user. The event is caught by the browser. The event is passed to the event listener. The event listener is called, which calls the function that is passed to it. There are two ways to add an event listener to an element in JavaScript. Using the add event listener function method, using the on attribute, for example, on click, on mouse over, etc. Using the add event listener function method. The add event listener function method is used to add an event listener to an element. The add event listener function method takes two arguments. Event, the event that is being listened for. Listener, the function that is called when the event occurs. The event argument is the name of the event that is being listened to. The listener argument is the function that is called when the event occurs. Using the on attribute method, you can directly add an event listener to the HTML element. Examples of attributes are on click, on mouse over, etc. The on attribute takes a string as an argument. The string is the name of the event that is being listened to. Types of events in JavaScript. There are many different types of events in JavaScript. The following are some of the most common types of events: window events, mouse events, keyboard events, form events, storage events, media events, drag events, clipboard events. Understanding window events. The window object is the top-level object in the browser, serving as the parent of all other objects within the browser environment. It provides access to various events that developers can listen to for handling different scenarios. Here are some of the most common window events and their descriptions. On load. This event is triggered when the web page has fully loaded. On resize. Triggered when the browser window is resized. On scroll. Fired when the browser window is scrolled. On before unload. Triggered just before the browser window is about to close. On offline. Fired when the browser switches to offline mode. On online. Triggered when the browser switches to the online mode. These events allow developers to respond to changes in the browser environment and user actions effectively. Understanding mouse events. Mouse events in JavaScript are triggered by user actions involving the mouse, such as clicking, hovering, dragging, and more. These events provide ways to interact with and manipulate elements on a web page based on mouse activity. Here is a list of commonly used mouse events in JavaScript along with their descriptions. Click, triggered when the mouse is clicked over an element. DBL click, fired when the mouse is double-clicked over an element. Mouse over, triggered when the user moves the mouse over an element. Mouse out, fired when the user moves the mouse out of an element. Mouse down, triggered when the user presses a mouse button. Mouse up, fired when the user releases a mouse button. Mouse move, triggered when the user moves the mouse over an element. Mouse enter, fired when the mouse enters an element. Mouse leave, triggered when the mouse leaves an element. These events enable developers to create interactive and responsive user interfaces by responding to different mouse interactions effectively. Understanding keyboard events. Keyboard events in JavaScript are events triggered by user interactions with the keyboard. These events allow developers to capture and respond to keystrokes, enhancing interactivity and functionality in web applications. Here are some commonly used keyboard events in JavaScript along with their descriptions. Key down, fired when any keyboard button is pressed down. Key up, triggered when any keyboard button is released. Key press, fired when any keyboard button is pressed and generates a character value that is deprecated in favor of key down and key up. These events provide mechanisms for developers to detect and respond to various keyboard interactions effectively. Understanding form events. Form events in JavaScript are events triggered by user interactions with HTML forms. These events provide mechanisms for developers to capture and respond to various actions performed within form elements, enhancing the functionality and interactivity of web applications. Here are some of the commonly used form events in JavaScript along with their descriptions. Submit, fired when the form is submitted. Focus, triggered when the cursor is focused on a form element. Blur, fired when the focus is removed from a form element. Change, triggered when the value of an input element is changed. Reset, fired when the form is reset. Select, triggered when text within a text input or text area is selected. These events enable developers to validate input, perform actions based on user interactions, and dynamically update UI elements within forms. Understanding the storage event. The storage event in JavaScript is triggered when there is a change in the storage area, that is local storage or session storage of another window or tab within the same origin. This event allows communication between different browsing contexts within the same origin. Understanding media events. Media events in JavaScript are events triggered by media elements such as audio and video tags. These events occur in response to various actions or changes in the media element state, enhancing the control and interactivity of audio and video playback on web pages. Here is a comprehensive list of commonly used media events in JavaScript along with their descriptions. Abort, triggered when the loading of an audio or video is aborted. Can play, fired when the browser can start playing the audio or video. Can play through, fired when the browser can play through the audio or video without stopping for buffering. Duration change, triggered when the duration of the audio or video is changed. Emptied, fired when the current playlist is empty. Ended, fired when the current playlist is ended. Error, triggered when an error occurs during loading of an audio or video. Loaded data, fired when the browser has loaded the current frame of the audio or video. Loaded metadata, fired when the browser has loaded metadata for the audio or video. Load start, triggered when the browser starts looking for the audio or video. Pause, fired when the audio or video is paused. Play, fired when the audio or video is played. Playing, fired when the audio or video is playing. Progress, triggered when the browser is downloading the audio or video. Rate change, fired when the playback rate of the audio or video is changed. Sort, triggered when the user finishes moving or skipping to a new position in the audio or video. Seeking, fired when the user starts moving or skipping to a new position in the audio or video. Stalled, triggered when the browser is trying to get media data but data is not available. Suspend, fired when the browser intentionally does not get media data. Time update, triggered when the current playback position of the audio or video changes. Volume change, fired when the volume of the audio or video is changed. Waiting, triggered when the video stops because it needs to buffer the next frame. Understanding drag events. Drag events in JavaScript are triggered by drag and drop actions on draggable elements within a web page. These events provide hooks for handling various stages of the drag operation from initiation to completion. Here are the key drag events available in JavaScript along with their descriptions. Drag, triggered continuously while an element is being dragged. Drag end, fired when an element stops being dragged. Drag enter, fired when an element or text selection is dragged over a valid drop target. Drag leave, fired when an element or text selection leaves a valid drop target. Drag over, fired continuously while an element or text selection is being dragged over a valid drop target. Drag start, fired when the user starts dragging an element. Drop, fired when an element or text selection is dropped on a valid drop target. Understanding clipboard events. Clipboard events in JavaScript are triggered by user actions involving copy, cut, and paste operations within a web page. These events allow developers to intercept and handle these clipboard actions programmatically. Here are the primary clipboard events available in JavaScript along with their descriptions. On copy, triggered when the user copies text to the clipboard. On cut, triggered when the user cuts text to the clipboard. On paste, triggered when the user pastes text from the clipboard. Events in React. React's approach to handling events builds on the concepts we just reviewed from JavaScript. React uses a synthetic event system, which is a cross-browser wrapper around the browser's native event system. This ensures that events behave consistently across different browsers. Adding event handlers in React. To handle an event in React, you add an event handler function to your component. In this example, we have a handle click function that shows an alert when the button is clicked. We add this function as an on-click event handler to the button element. Synthetic events. React's synthetic event system is a layer of abstraction that helps ensure that events work consistently across different browsers. Synthetic events are instances of the synthetic event class, which mimics the native event system and provides a consistent interface. Handling form events in React. In this example, we have a form with an input field and a submit button. We use the onChange event to update the state with the input value and the onSubmit event to handle form submission. Notice how we use event.preventDefault function to prevent the default form submission behavior. Event handling in class components. Event handling in class components is similar to functional components. Here, we define a handle-click method within a class component and use it as an on-click event handler for the button. Remember to use arrow functions to ensure this is correctly bound. Passing arguments to event handlers. Sometimes you need to pass arguments to your event handlers. You can do this by using an arrow function within the onClick attribute. This allows you to pass additional data to the event handler as shown in this example. Using event pools. React pools events, which means the synthetic event object is reused for performance optimization. This can cause issues if you access event properties asynchronously. To prevent this, you can call event.persist function to retain the event object for later use. Handling multiple events. You can attach multiple event handlers to a single element. In this example, we handle both on-click and on-mouse over events for the same button. This demonstrates how React's event system can be used to create interactive components. Event propagation. Event propagation in React follows the same principles as in JavaScript, including capturing and bubbling phases. You can stop the propagation of an event using event.stopPropagation function. Preventing default behavior. To prevent the default behavior of an element, such as a link or a form submission, you can use event.preventDefault function. This is useful for handling custom behavior on user interactions. In summary, we have covered the basics of event management in React, including how to add event handlers, handle form events, use synthetic events, pass arguments, manage multiple events, handle event propagation, and prevent default behavior. That's all for this session. Thank you.